Hello, Bobcats. This is Mr. Johnson, reaching you from a very quiet choir room. And I miss seeing the preschoolers in the hall. I miss all of Mrs. Schlapper's kids and Mrs. Jerry's kids. I miss Mrs. Galvin's kids. And I miss Mrs. Christ's kids. And I miss Mrs. Anderson's kids. And I miss all of the fifth graders and the middle schoolers. And I miss the high schoolers, too. So what I thought is I would read to you so I don't miss you so much. And this is The Story of Ferdinand by Monroe Leaf and illustrated by Robert Lawson. And this is the book, when I was in elementary school, I checked out over and over again. And once upon a time in Spain, there was a little bull, and his name was Ferdinand. And all of the other little bulls he lived with would run and jump and butt their heads together. But not Ferdinand. He liked to sit quietly and just smell the flowers. He had a favorite spot out in the pasture, out under a cork tree, and it was his favorite tree, and he would sit in the shade all day and just smell the flowers. And sometimes his mother, who was a cow, would worry about him. She was afraid that he'd be lonesome all by himself. Why don't you run and play with all the little bulls that skip and butt your head, she would say, but Ferdinand would shake his head. I like it better here, where I can just sit quietly and smell the flowers. His mother saw that he was not lonesome, and because she was an understanding mother, though she was just a cow, she just let him sit there and be happy. And as these years went by, Ferdinand grew and grew until he was very big and strong. All the other bulls who had grown up with him in the same pasture would fight each other all day. They would butt each other and stick each other with their horns. And what they wanted most of all was to be picked to fight in the bullfights in Madrid. But not Ferdinand. He still liked to sit quietly under the cork tree and smell his flowers. One day, 5 men came in very funny hats to pick the biggest, fastest, roughest bull to go fight in the bullfights in Madrid. And all the other bulls ran around, snorting and butting, leaping and jumping, so the men would think that they were very, very strong and fierce and pick them. Ferdinand knew that they wouldn't pick him, and he didn't care, so he just went out to his favorite cork tree to sit down, and he didn't look where he was sitting, and instead of sitting on the nice cool grass in the shade, he sat on a bumblebee. Well, if you were a bumblebee and a bull sat on you, what would you do? You would sting him, and that's just what this bee did to Ferdinand. Wow, did that hurt? And Ferdinand jumped up with a snort, and he ran around puffing and snorting and butting and pawing the ground as if he were crazy. The 5 men saw him, and they all shouted with joy. Here was the largest, fiercest bull of all, just the one for the bullfights in Madrid. So they took him away for the bullfight. Day in a cart. And what a day it was. flags were flying, bands were playing, and all the lovely ladies had flowers in their hair. They had a parade into the bull ring. First came the bandilleros with long, sharp pins with ribbons on the end to stick the bull and make him mad. Next came the picadores, who rode skinny horses, and they had long spears to stick in the bull and make him madder. Next came the matador, the proudest of all. He thought that he was so handsome, and he bowed to all the ladies. He had a red cape and a sword, and he was supposed to stick the bull last of all. Then came the bull, and you know who it was, don't you? It was Ferdinand. They called him Ferdinand the Fierce, and all the bandilleros were afraid of him, and the picadores were afraid of him, and the matador was scared stiff. Ferdinand ran to the middle of the ring, and everyone shouted and clapped because they thought he was going to fight fiercely and butt and snort and stick his horns around. But not Ferdinand. When he got to the middle of the ring, he saw the flowers and all the lovely ladies' hair, and he just sat down quietly and he smelled. He wouldn't fight and be fierce no matter what they did. He just sat and smelled. And the bandilleros were mad, and the picadores were madder, and the matador was so mad. He cried because he couldn't show off with his cape and his sword. So they had to take Ferdinand home. And for all I know, he's still sitting there under his favorite cork tree, smelling the flowers just quietly, and he is very happy. The end. All right, have a good day, and we will smell you later.